buried alive. The thumping bass of the club's music pulsed through Megan's veins, each beat syncing with her rapid heartbeat. After a long week, she was ready to let loose. The neon lights flickered over the sea of dancing bodies, and in the chaos, she spotted him. A tall, charming man with dark eyes that seemed to drink in the room. His gaze locked with hers, and for a moment it felt like the world had narrowed to just the two of them. Megan wasn't the type to fall for smooth talkers, but there was something about this man, something magnetic. His name was Lucas. They chatted over a couple of drinks, his laugh disarming, his smile inviting. Everything about him felt right, until it didn't. It was subtle at first. A wave of dizziness washed over Megan, and the room seemed to spin faster than the strobe lights. She tried to stand, but her legs wobbled beneath her. Lucas caught her, concern flashing in his eyes. "You're not looking too good," he said, his voice low and soothing. "Let me take you outside. Get some air." Megan nodded, her head heavy, her vision blurring. She barely registered Lucas guiding her out the back door into the cold night air. The cool breeze hit her, but it did nothing to clear the fog clouding her mind. She opened her mouth to speak, to say something, anything, but her words slurred. "It's okay," Lucas whispered. "I'll take care of you." The world went black. When Megan woke, it was to suffocating darkness. Panic clawed at her chest as she realized she was trapped, underground. She thrashed against the walls of the coffin, her fingers scraping the rough wood, dirt falling from above with every desperate movement. Her heart pounded in her ears, terror wrapping around her like a second skin. She screamed until her throat burned, but the sound was swallowed by the earth. How long had she been here? How much air did she have left? Every second that passed felt like a countdown to death. Then she heard it, a scraping sound, faint at first but growing louder. Footsteps above her. The weight of the earth shifted, and then a blinding light as the coffin lid creaked open. Lucas stood over her, grinning down like a twisted god watching over his creation. "You lasted longer than the others," he said, his voice almost casual. "Most of them panic right away, but you fought." Terror and fury collided in Megan's chest. "Why?" she gasped, her voice hoarse. Lucas knelt beside the coffin, his hand caressing the edge of the wood. "I like to see how far people can go before they break. It's fascinating, really." His eyes glinted with something sick, something inhuman. Megan's hands were trembling, her body weak, but her mind raced. She needed to get out, and then she felt it, the loose nail sticking out from the inside of the coffin. Slowly she wrapped her fingers around it, hiding it beneath her palm. "I think I'm ready for the final act now," Lucas said, pulling a knife from his pocket, the blade gleaming in the moonlight. As he leaned in, Megan acted on instinct. With all her remaining strength, she drove the rusty nail into his neck. Lucas's eyes widened in shock, his hand shooting up to the wound as blood spilled between his fingers. He stumbled back, choking, gurgling, but Megan didn't wait to watch him die. She crawled out of the coffin, her legs weak but driven by raw adrenaline. The night air hit her like a shock, but she forced herself to keep running through the dark forest, stumbling over roots and rocks. Behind her, she could hear Lucas gasping, trying to follow, but his voice grew fainter, his steps more erratic. Megan didn't stop until the forest opened up to a road, the headlights of an oncoming car blinding her. She collapsed onto the asphalt, the driver slamming on the brakes. A moment later, arms were around her, voices shouting, but all she could hear was her own ragged breath. Alive. She had escaped. As the car sped away, taking her to safety, Megan allowed herself to look back at the trees one last time. Somewhere in that dark forest, Lucas was either dead or dying. But she knew. He had buried others before her, and she wasn't sure if she'd be the last.